go do some grinding.
Let's go do some grinding. Valentine's Day was last week, Ellie.
I've just driven down from Glasgow to here in Preston, which is where Tartybikes is based. Actually, really quite stoked with this colour. I used to love doing this bit. We're onto something here. Black and pink's nice.
Rolling the bars backwards and forwards, so if you want to go longer, you've got longer.
And that's what it looks like afterwards. Right, before we finish up the brakes, I just thought we'd throw the cranks on now. If you remember, they were looking pretty tatty with a home spray job. So we've just got a bit of acetone and some elbow grease, and we're just getting these polished up. Always worth checking lock rings, and with these cranks we're going to get the bolts done up nice and tight, and I'm going to keep on checking them because yeah, if your bolts come loose on your cranks, then say bye-bye to your cranks pretty much. Alright, well that is the cranks on. Now I've actually reused the cranks because they're Middleburns and actually really nice cranks. Now that I've got rid of the paint, they've polished up pretty nicely as well. And yeah, a lot of competition trials bikes these days will actually run an 18 tooth front freewheel rather than this 22 tooth and rear freewheel. But again, keeping to a budget, this works, so I'm going to stick with it. Maybe in the future I might go for a front freewheel setup and explain some of the benefits, why you might want to do that. But for now, sticking with the Middleburns because yeah, they're just pretty good.
And just start putting the mounts on so we can clamp the brake to the frame. Again, these should go in like by hand to start with. If it's getting stuck, don't force it because it's a really intricate part of the bike, and if you can get the stuck bolt out, you can run a new thread in there, but it's a little bit tricky, so just be a little bit careful to start with and just go by hand and see how you go. Cool, so that's on. Are you thinking of trying some different brake pads? You think you're going to maybe put a grind on the back wheel and then...
So the brake pads that came with it, what do you think? These are original Zoo pads?
I think they could be Zoo pads, yeah. I mean, it's that like green colour, it's a sort of texture, and the finish on it looks like a Zoo pad. It's obviously rock hard now because it's really old.
No, don't say that because I'm going to sell them on eBay for like 50 quid. Let's put some new pads in.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Just going to go back a bit. I think they're on line pads, unfortunately. It's got the grooves cut in them.
Oh.
So they're not 50 quid, sorry.
So when I stopped riding competitions, I think Cox Browns were about some of the best pads you could get, and then TNN was starting to make pads as well.
So Cox Browns were made by a chap called Thierry Klinkenberg, who was an ex-trials rider in Belgium, and TK pads still make Cox Browns.
No way.
As well as the yellows that he also did. Yeah. The next upgrade from something like that would be something with a metal backing. So these have got a CNC machined aluminium backing.
Yeah.
So when you're obviously pushing the force in the centre of the pad here from the brake cylinder, the plastic backings want to flex, whereas this transfers all the force straight into the rim. So that's quite a nice little upgrade. And then going forward, you can just change the material. And there's like a couple of different standards for the size of the pockets because it's like recessed pocket and the material goes into the recesses. There's a couple of different standards, but you can generally get a few different pad materials for each. So that's something that you spend a bit more to start with, but they're then cheaper, going forward. There's those TK pads, or there's actually some Couste pads.
Oh, Couste?
Yeah, legendary. So Michel Castelier is the father of Gilles and Jaco, two top trials riders still.
Yeah.
He hand makes these in France.
I remember those being like the ultimate pads that people were trying to sell their teeth to get.
Yeah, basically, and now he's made them available, so you can actually buy. We've got a good stock of them. So
I always wanted to try a set.
There you go, and they're a cool green colour, so that'll go really nice for your frame.
Yeah, maybe.
give them a try.
Yeah,
sweet.
I've
Sounds
always
good.
wanted to try some. Yeah, let's go for them.
Wicked.
Now that I've kind of got the brakes sorted, it's time to get some wheels sorted. A bit like the cranks, sticking with the hubs because they're good quality. These are old hubs, they're the first generation of Hope Pro 2s, I think. But they're reliable, it works. It's a good quality hub. Bearings, yeah.
Mega smooth, amazing, really good, yeah.
We need to get some new tyres.
Yeah, if you have an MOT, I think that would fail on cracked sidewalls there, mate. So.
Yeah. So we're going to get rid of the tyres. I don't know how old these are. Possibly 15 years. They can get in the bin. Also, it's got many. I don't know why it's got so many gears on here. The bike did have some cable guides and a rear mechanism tensioner. I actually ground off the cable guides because we don't need those anymore. But we can get rid of all these cogs. I only needed one. I believe 18 tooth to go with the 22 on the front.
Yeah, it's about the right sort of ratio.
Same as I run on my Hex. So get rid of the tyre and get a single cog in the back, either a single speed kit or whatever. Yep. And also, rather than using this big heavy mech as a tensioner, we're going to get something else, hopefully.
Yeah, we've got something in stock that'll do the job for that, yeah.
Right, what do you reckon? Should we go have a look at some tyres?
Yeah, go and have a look, yeah. See what we got and go from there.
Nice one.
Cool. As far as we know, the Clean and the Jitsi tyres are very similar to the old Trial that you liked a lot.
Oh really?
Just with the Kevlar beads, they're a bit lighter, so that could be an option.
Is that the front one?
That's the front one, yeah.
Oh, I quite like the Meteor, the tread going on in this as well.
Yeah, I think so. Some of the tyres now, they try and pinch weight by making the tread blocks really small, so you save weight because there's physically less rubber. But it means that you don't get much wear life out of the tyre. Yeah. At least with this, it's got a bit of height on the tread block. So
let's go for one of these and a Kaiser.
Cool.
I reckon, then.
Wicked. Good choice. Big stiff old tyre. Not even be a downhill tube as well. Nearly off. There we go.
Now I'm sure some of you know I am tubeless on my Street Trials bike on my Hex. I'm not going to go tubeless on this for now. It's maybe something I might try in the future, but it certainly should be doable, despite the rim being a drilled rim with the massive weight-saving holes. And done right with the right taping, you can still seal a rim with as many holes as this. So in theory, should be doable. I'm not doing it now for money reasons, time reasons, mess reasons, equipment reasons, but yeah, that's an experiment for the future, I think. Let's go do some grinding.
Let's go do some grinding. Valentine's Day was last week, Ellie. Cool, right, we'll carry on, finish this off, and then we'll go and bob the tyre on and then try the Popeye method of holding the tyre out of the way. This is the old surface, hopefully you can see it glinting in the light. And if you get your fingernail and just run it along it, it's basically just smooth. So with a grind, you can see it's kind of like lots of little micro sort of troughs and peaks. There's a lot more friction going on there.
Yeah. How many grinds can a rim take?
It varies a bit depending on the rim. Some of them, like the really modern trial specific rims, have got thicker sidewalls, so it resists dents and you can get more grinds out of them. It also depends a bit on how you grind. Like some people will cut in really, really harsh and put almost like grooves in the rim. You might only get maybe half a dozen or 10 grinds out of a rim before the sidewalls get a bit thin that way. The way that we do it is to go for this sort of finer texture, which might not last quite as long, but you get a better break-in when the grind's fresh, and you get many more grinds out of the rim, 30, 40, 50 grinds before it's time to replace. So different ways of doing it, but that's what we find. For trials on the back wheel, we'd often swap the tyre around and run it the opposite way to the manufacturer recommends, and then you've got the flat section on the knobbles trying to hook up to the obstacle you're going up. Yeah,
because often our grip is backwards, isn't it, rather than forwards?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're trying to hang off something rather than go down something. So no direction on this tyre. Trial specific tyre, so they sort of make them to work both ways, because obviously we grip both ways. So no consideration for that. Just fire it on.
One thing we haven't really mentioned is these rims. Obviously the hubs are getting reused because they're good quality Hope hubs. The rims are actually pretty good condition as well, considering the age of the bike. And these are trial specific rims, hence how wide they are, and the classic trials drilled rims, the massive holes for weight saving. Because obviously the wider the rim you go, the heavier it is. Are these Echo ones? I think they're original.
That's the front Echo from about 2005, 2006.
Yeah, I think the rear one trial or
something. Trial. That looks of it, yeah. From a similar sort of age. Yeah. It could be an Onza with the eyelets, possibly. But maybe. Either way.
So these are obviously wider because when you're riding off camber, if you've got skinny rims, your tyre can fold off the rim, which is not what you want. You get slightly flatter and wider tyre profile as well, which helps with grip. These are double wall rims, but you can get single walled as well, trial specific rims. And they're not super strong, they're not going to be that downhill strength, but for trials riding, they hold up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, as you get more experience with the bike, you tend to drop it less on the side and side load the wheels less, and Most of the load is vertically, where the spokes are taking all the load, so you can get away with some really light rims if you've got the experience and sort of knowledge of how to sort of preserve them in some ways.
Yeah. What kind of PSI do you reckon for this tyre?
I'll probably start 25-ish in the front. It's a real personal preference thing. It depends on sort of rider weight, rider style, which tyre you're using to an extent, which rim you're using. But if we start on the higher side, and then if you never actually rim out, never sort of feel the rim touching on obstacles, you're probably a little bit hard, and you can afford to take a bit of pressure out, and that'll give you more sort of tyre wrap around obstacles and a bit more bounce. So just sort of bleed a couple of PSI out every ride until you sort of start to feel yourself touching the rim every now and then. If you're going out and you're blowing straight through the tyre, straight into the rim and getting pinch flats, then you're way low on pressure and you need a good 5-10 psi more. So we'll start maybe 25 front, 20 rear, and see how we go from there.
And the lighter weight the tyre, the more PSI, you reckon?
Yeah, generally, because when you do rim out, it has less protection for the tube, and the tyre itself needs a bit more air pressure in there to give it some stability. Whereas if you've got like a Kaiser, as we saw in the warehouse before, the actual carcass of the tyre has so much stability all by itself, you don't need as much air in there. Yeah. So yeah, one-handed grinding with the tyre on. So the advantage of doing this is that you don't get all the release agent and gunk from the tyre and the tube on the rim sidewall, which reduces your braking performance.
So this hub is a Shimano spline. You've got some screw-on ones here. These ones are more trial specific, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot of the trials hubs will use a screw-on thread, a bit like a fixie or a track cog, but a lot of the time they'll run quite a lot wider base. That's like a 10mm wide base, so that's basically 10 threads contact between the hub or crank and the sprocket. Look out for, if you buy like a fixie or a track cog off eBay or something like that, they can often be a slightly different thread size. So these are 1.37 inch. There's a 1.375 inch thread, which is slightly bigger diameter, so it doesn't fit properly. And then they have a narrow base, like 6 or 7mm, so there's not as much thread contact. And as soon as you stomp on the pedals really hard on a trials bike, whoosh, you've got a knackered hub.
Yeah.
So it's worth just checking out the spec of any sprockets that you buy to make sure they're going to be up for trials use.
Tensioners. Now this is something I want some advice about.
Okay.
Now I made my tensioner on my Inspired.
Oh, that's right, your little titanium thing you
Yeah,
do.
I
Was it
did
like Sugru or something, like grungy stuff?
It's just some like weird nylon-y stuff. Confession, everyone, my idea for my tensioner on my Inspired wasn't entirely original to me. There has been a brand that has a tensioner out which is a little bit similar, and I believe you guys do.
We do have that tensioner that you're talking about. However, this is like a V3 version of what they did before.
So the original one was a
74 Kings, is a German brand, yeah. But it was similar to yours. It had like a skid rather than a wheel.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool bit of kit. Nice and simple and worked well. But Heatsink do like a sprung version of this with a little jockey wheel. So you get a bit of give in that, which provides you the chain tension, and that clamps in the rear axle, I think.
Yeah.
Yours mounts onto the frame mount on the
That's
Inspired.
Right, yeah.
Dropout, doesn't it? But that mounts OB rear axle, so you clamp it between the frame and the hub. So you've got all the articulation you need. Little bit of chainline adjustment on the slot. Pretty neat. You're also wondering about possibly using one of the double wheel tensioners we have, the spring tensioner, or?
Because I think the frame's got 375mm chainstays, which kind of, I don't know how baggy that'll leave the chain with a 22-18 ratio.
Maybe we should put the chain on first and see how it looks.
Let's do that.
The single wheel tension, obviously, it pulls down, and if you're having to move it doin a long way, it's going to stop the chain from wrapping around the rear sprocket, and then it can skip. So,
right. Well, I will need a chain then, please. Sir.
Chain wise, lots of choice. Some of them are way too big, like moped chains, and we don't really recommend them. People want them because they want something that's completely like peace of mind, really solid. But there's a KMC chain, which is very popular on sort of single speed bikes and for trials bikes, which is nice and simple, light, strong, don't tend to break. and they're pretty cheap, like 12, 14 quid. So
I think that's the one I tend to use. So
yeah, we all use that one here as well. So
yeah,
good to go.
I'm happy to go with that one.
Cool.
Although we do have I thought that was a pink chain in there. You got red chains.
We did have pink chains at one point, but they seem to have disappeared now.
Yeah,
which is a real shame. So we were 47.5 mil from the logo on the hub. Puts us about pretty much bang in the middle of the free up.
Yep.
So spacer on. Sprocket on. Spacer on. And then obviously the spacer needs to be slightly sticking out over the free up so the lock ring can tighten it down. Just a bit of a nip just to hold it in place really, especially if you've got like an aluminium spacer like this. You could end up flaring the spacer and cracking it or something, so just a good nip of the ratchet and it should be good to go there.
Cool. Alright, well my bike came with a mech hanger, but classic me, I lost it. So fortunately, this 15-year-old bike, you guys still stock the tensioner that it fits.
Yeah.
Which, the mech hanger that it fits, which is pretty handy, otherwise I'd have been fairly stuffed. Although to be fair, the heatsink tensioner doesn't rely on the mech hanger, so there's still options. So obviously with V-brakes and stuff, they have a quick release, and even Maguras for commuter bikes will have a quick release system. But for extra stiffness, we just bolt the brakes on. There's no quick release here, which means if you do want to take your tyre off, you have to deflate it. Or if you want to take your wheel off, you have to deflate the tyre. Which is a bit of a pain in the ass, but you get better brakes for it. So
it's probably less of a pain than having to reset your brake every time as well.
Yeah.
So, lesser of two evils. Like I said before, with the sort of slightly odd chainstay length compared to modern bikes and then an odd gear ratio, it's fallen like exactly in between links. You could maybe get away with a half link, but it's a bit scary. So we're gonna have to join the chain here. So with a single wheel tensioner, you'd be sitting it down quite low, so you might be better off with double wheel.
Yep.
To get the chain up there nice and high.
Makes sense.
Go with that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's do that.
Important bit to think about is don't push the pin so far that it falls out of the plate. Otherwise, you're stuffed. Because getting them back in is really tricky. So
I've done that so many times.
really,
Yeah.
I think it's late. There we go. So they've got quite good chain tension, but not so tight that it's going to knacker the tensioner. But yeah,
That's
it's
neater,
nice
isn't
and neat
it?
as well.
Much neater than the mech. Oh.
What's the after? That's your before. Got the bad boy hanging down.
Yeah. Big weight saving, and it's less likely to be hit. So yeah, a good worthy upgrade.
Next.
Set up the back brake.
Yep, sounds good.
And by the way, guys, I know a lot of people know me for my wheel builds, but I learnt off Adam. Adam is a beast of a wheel builder. That's pretty much how Tartybikes started, isn't it? You used to do Chris King
servicing the wheel builds, from my bedroom when I was at uni, and that was how it started really. So.
Yeah, so my wheel building prowess, all thanks to this guy. And you got Sheldon Brown to thank?
Yeah, Sheldon Brown's a man.
Yeah.
They're very good tutorials and it's easy to follow. It's a shame he's not around anymore, but the website's still there and it's a really good resource for everything mountain biking or cycling in general actually.
So yeah, a lot of people might be shocked by how many dents and flat spots this rim has, but to be honest with you, in trials, unless you're really smooth or replace your parts all the time, you're probably going to get some flat spots. It's not like mountain biking or road riding where it's an efficiency thing or you can feel it when riding. Trials with the way we ride, it's so static. Yeah, you don't feel it, you don't notice it. As long as the bike rolls without the brake rubbing and the wheel isn't going to fall apart, you're generally okay.
You might get a ever so slight variation in how far you have to pull the lever if you've got a really bad flat spot, but yeah, it's generally not really too much of a problem. Setting up the brakes can be a bit fiddly, but with the new cylinder washers and grease on the bolts and all the slots sort of filed out, this should be straightforward. What I normally do is don't tighten the bolts up all the way to start with. Get the lever set up how you like it in terms of the amount of travel the lever's got, and then from there we can go and start tightening the bolts down. So that pad is really square with the rim, but if you look at the side, it's actually way too low at the moment, so it needs to be shifted up because it's hanging off the bottom of the rim. I usually just tap with an Allen key because it moves quite nicely that way. We have motion.
Does it honk?
No. Oh, a little bit.
A little bit.
Might be bedding in.
Yeah.
One of those trials brake things again where the pad and the rim aren't quite square. It'll kind of go like that.
Yeah.
But when it's all bedded in together, it's all flush and it'll go.
Oh, those two, they're escaping. It's taking so long to build this thing. All right.
Cheers, guys.
See you later, guys.
Tomorrow.
See you later. We need to fit this front wheel and front brake,
Okie doke.
which is a little bit of a pain in the arse one, I'm afraid.
So I think we'll start by. Actually, no, it's a BB5, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. I was going to say we need to face the front disc brake mounts. So like we face the head tube and the fork and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a tool that you clamp in the dropouts, which faces off these little tabs here where the brake mounts to make sure everything's parallel. But Avid in the infinite wisdom made their brakes with these little V-brake conical dome washers, so you've got articulation in the mount, so you don't need to face your mounts, which is brilliant at 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoon.
So I thought that
Wednesday
brilliant,
afternoon.
I thought that brilliant was a sarcastic one, but
No.
Okay, genuinely happy.
Yeah,
Sweet.
genuinely good.
Now, some people might be thinking cable brake, cable disc brake, what? But yeah, cable disc brakes, especially the Avid models, the BB5 and the BB7, are actually really pretty damn good for trials.
Bit of a semi-minefield, especially with trials bikes. The position of the brake mount relative to the axle. So this is a front. This is an international standard mount. So you've got a fixed distance from here to here and from here to here. Some of the trials forks were made at plus 20, which means 20mm bigger rotor. So the mount itself is actually 10mm further up the leg. And the same on the rear. Some were IS, which is actually further down on the rear than the front. Some are plus 20, some are plus 50, some plus 40. So you can run into a real minefield, and with all the adapters that are available for different types of calipers, you can get stuck. So welcome to give us a shout, and we're happy to, even if we have to point you in the direction of a different mount we don't sell, happy to make sure that you get something that works first time, because we know it's really frustrating to end up with loads of mounts lying around that you're never going to use. So.
Yeah.
A couple of battle scars, there's one just there where it's been smashed on a wall,
Yeah.
bit of brick dust still in it, so learning to do this is worth doing. Even if you've got a really knackered old rotor, just bolt it onto a hub or a wheel and just have a go at straightening it, and if it gets better, then happy days. You've learned something, and you can possibly even do it out in the field. If you've got a little adjustable spanner, it helps you get home with a working brake. Here we go.
Nice. I annoyingly lost the barrel adjuster for this brake, so Adam's off to look in the stock. Hopefully we've got a spare one. But while he's doing that, I could just be doing something like putting on my grips. I've got some ODI AG2, the Aaron Gwyn models. These are updated ones with softer compound. These are some of the thinner grips that ODI do, so I quite like thin grips for trials, so yeah, I'm going to stick some of these on. And the reason why I've gone for ODI is because I tend to always go back to ODI for grips as my favourites. But there's also another reason which I'm going to announce in a vlog soon, so keep an eye out for that. Alright, that is the grips fitted. I believe Tartybikes will be getting some of these in stock soon, so if you fancy some ODI Aaron Gwyn grips, you know where to get them.
Does that meet your approval, Mr. Clarkson?
Oh, that feels so good. Oh,
She said.
I forgot quite how nice cable brakes can be.
They're good, brilliant. Like, it's amazing. People really shy away from them, but it's so light and easy to pull, and it's the word you use is boff.
Yeah.
Boff. The brakes on and off. You can feel it. It feels good.
Here's a thing. Maybe you can answer.
Uh-huh.
I always use platform pedals with pins.
Okay.
Competition riders seem to use caged pedals. What are you? Is it just a weight thing? Are caged pedals lighter?
Cage pedals can be quite a bit lighter. Obviously, if you look at something like that, there's not really much to it. The other thing that I wonder is this sort of shape of cage. Back in the day, sort of logs and rocks and what have you, when people were putting the pedals into stuff to help get up, that grips really nicely. And also, mud falls through really easily because you've got massive gaps. So I think that's some of the main reasons why people would use cage pedals. Personally, I, like you, much prefer platform. Just the way that you've got the parallelogram, so if you stomp down on it, you're always going to get a flat bit. And the shape just feels nicer to me, but everyone's got a preference.
Yeah.
So you're looking for some platforms.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know.
Okay. Oh, right, okay.
So, obviously, I kind of know and like platforms.
Yeah.
And you guys have a range, but it seems like an opportunity to try cage pedals and kind of see
Yeah, why not?
what's going on. So I'm kind of tempted to try.
These little sort of cages, the teeth will go blunt with time, but you can just take a file to them and just sharpen them back up again, rather than having to change the cages. So if you get a second-hand bike, then the cage is all a bit smashed up, which is quite often, and the pedals a bit blunt and they feel a bit naff. Bit of grip tape on there. Just take a file to the points, get them a bit sharper, and you're good to go again. Cool. So maybe that's a good reason to buy cage pedals. You can just keep sharpening them up and go again. All
right then. The bike is off the stand, but it is not ready yet. Oh, but look at it. That is looking so nice. Yeah. Oh, the pink works. It works.
Works really well. It's cool.
It looks like a brand new bike. I need to swap the pedals. I mean, again, these work. We could ride with these, but yeah, the bearings aren't great. The grip isn't good. I'm gonna shin myself if I ride these things.
New cranks, you need to keep on top of the pedal torque quite frequently. If you let the pedal come loose, which happens quite often on Charles' bike, because you're pedaling backwards and forwards, the threads are designed to self-tighten when you're pedaling normally on a bike, but because you pedal backwards a lot, the pedals come loose. Then the pedal gets wobbly in the thread, it wears the thread in the crank, and then you need to either replace the crank or get it repaired. So if you get new cranks on a bike, or a second-hand bike, just keep on top of the tension on the pedals for the first couple of rides. Make sure everything doesn't cause any issues.
Can you guys fix broken pedal threads?
Yeah, we've got a special kit where you basically drill out the old thread, put a new thread in, put an insert in that reduces the thread size back to the original pedal thread size, and then you can just use it as normal. So we've saved, I think, over 150 or 200 cranks by using that method so far, and it's much cheaper and easier than finding a single crank arm, especially with something like this. Really nice crank that you can't get anymore. So it's well worth looking at if you need to repair a pedal thread. Yeah. There we go. I think everything is tight enough and safe enough to hop on.
Nice. Oh, that is a better position. Oh my word. Night and day.
There should be just enough room to get on the bikeway later.
Yeah. Obviously, the front brake needs bedding in. That feels a million times better.
That feels pretty good. I'm really shocked at how good that feels. It's stiff, isn't it, friend?
Yeah.
Really stiff. It's really direct. Feels cool.
The extra length of the stem, definitely the right shot.
Yeah. I'm liking that. Good.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Good to see you
have
happy.
gone above and beyond helping out with this. Yeah, I know you touched on it before. We've both been through some difficult times, but it's been really cool to meet you and have you help out.
Yeah, man.
And ride this bike.
Thanks a lot for coming down. It's nice to spend some time with you. Like I say, it's I've had a tricky few days, and I suffer with a black dog like you do, and I think that's like 20 years worth now of struggling with mental health, and we've talked about it, and it really helps. Just having someone to chat to, and I think when you open up, you'd be surprised at how many people support and come forward and say the same thing, or oh my god, I had no idea you felt like that, and a little chat goes a long way. And yeah, thanks man, have a good day.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. All right, so we've weighed it, and it weighs 11.18 kilos, which, to be fair, isn't actually that light. It felt a lot lighter when I picked it up, but yeah, 11.18 is a little bit on the heavy side, but I have got a heavy front brake, a heavy rear tyre, the frame's heavy, the cranks are heavy, the hub's heavy. It's actually got quite a lot of heavy parts on it. I'm happy with the weight, don't get me wrong, I am not particularly looking to get much lighter than this. If I was riding the UCI World Cup, stuff like that, then yes, I'd probably be wanting it to be a lot lighter, but for me, that's happy, that's a good, strong weight.
Echo Pure Mark 5, which is 659 quid.
Yeah.
It's 2 kilos lighter than that.
Is it?
Yeah, with the front disc.
No way.
But it's got paper tyres on it, basically.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable what you can get for the money nowadays.
Yeah. Now, after I've bought some parts, added those to my cheap bike, is it more expensive than...
It might actually be.
with a £300 or £280, let's say, for the bike,
Yeah.
plus parts now.
Yeah. About 415 you've got parts there today.
Okay, so
But it's a lot of parts, isn't it?
yeah. Interesting. Is it worth buying a used bike and upgrading it, or should you buy just a cheap full bike off the shelf? I'm going to ride this bike, see how we get on with it, and then hopefully we'll come up with an answer for you guys. It's not over yet though. There's actually 2 more things I need to do.
just one more.
No,
Just one more.
Two more. Need to add some these stickers, which I got made nice and silver to try and match some silver parts on that stand out. Can I please have a chainstay protector as well?
Of course you can. There you go.
Nice. Nice. Right, so we're actually interested to know what the geometry of this is. So chainstay length.
Yeah, 375.
375.
Ooh.
Short.
1070.
1070 wheelbase. That is quite short.
That's not bad. Nearly plus 60.
Really?
In the end, yeah. I think it could be something to do with big tyre.
So, wheelbase is slightly shorter than on modern bikes. Chainstays are actually slightly shorter than on modern bikes, I think.
Yeah.
But the bottom bracket is about the same, maybe slightly lower. I don't really know what modern comp bike bottom brackets are. But
Yeah, probably somewhere between plus 70 and plus 80, plus 90-ish, and this is about plus 60.
even
so
on
it's not
26
far. Yeah, they're really high.
Whoa,
They're
okay.
really high.
I didn't realise bottom bracket's gone that high. So
Yeah.
this is higher than any bottom bracket than I've ridden before. But yeah, not quite as high as modern bikes, so a good in-betweener.
Yeah.
Alright everyone, that is the bike finally built, and it is awesome. Like, obviously I've only done riding indoors in a flat area here, but the bar and stem alone have transformed this bike. Having a back brake that works, I cannot wait to get out and ride this thing, and it looks so good as well. I think the pink works really, really well. Pink and black looks really nice. A few silver highlights, and even the blue of the hubs don't look too bad. So yeah, so stoked for this. Thank you so much, Adam.
Very welcome.
Again, gone above and beyond helping with this. And yes, really nice to come and see Tartybikes again. So yeah, if you guys are interested in either getting a used bike like this and upgrading it, or if you have an old bike or even a new bike and you just want some new parts, Tartybikes have a great selection. Like I've mentioned earlier, they have worldwide shipping as well. And if you do want a full bike, if you don't want to go down the self-build route, they can offer you many options there as well. Or even do custom build bikes from all the stock they have. If you do have any questions with anything they have, or if you have a bike you need some help with, give them a call. They're happy to help. Obviously you've seen they're really nice guys, so yeah, just don't be scared to phone them up if you have any questions. Okay, so I'm gonna call it there, and you guys know the score. Give the video a like, comment, subscribe if you want to support the channel. I'm trying to get to 100,000 this year, and yeah, even if you've been watching the channel for a while, you just haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, it really would help. If you want to get some merch, aliClarkson.com will get you some. If you want to see some longer, more in-depth videos, then hit up my Patreon. And if you want to donate but you don't want any obligations, then I do accept PayPal donations as well. All of these things will be linked down below, as well as some information about Tartybikes and maybe even some of the parts that I got on my bike. But yeah, everyone, get out, ride your bikes, have fun, and I will get something for you next week if these storms go away. Honestly, it's been nuts here in the UK. I need to get out. I've been getting cabin fever. Hope you're managing to get out, so take care. See you later. See you next week, everyone. Bye-bye.